So the film industry is dead right now and you can't find a job. Here's why. Basically, a lot of stuff has happened at once. Upcoming recession, you have your strikes that happened, you have a lot of networks and the streaming wars, and they tried to spend a bunch of money and then they couldn't. Every network wanted to make their own streaming service and nobody wants to pay like $100 a month to have all of the services. So you're kind of like just stuck with nothing. And then the strikes happened, which you can think what you will about the union, but it did kind of like slow everything down. Now, I'm someone who's not in the union, so I'm not directly affected by the dwellings of the union. But what does happen is that you have all those people that would be busy. So I believe it's 60% unemployment right now in the film industry and 40% reduction in productions. You also have a lot of productions moving overseas, which obviously is less jobs for us Americans. I do a bit of reality, usually in like economic downturns and stuff is a thing that is easy to produce and that they rely on, but that's also down as well. So it's a lovely time out here. You have all this melting pot plus layoffs and recession, and Paramount just laid off a bunch of employees, and the world is on fire. The amount of threads that I read every day that are really scary of video people and people in the film world that have years and years, like you're talking like 20 years, they've worked on Walking Dead and a bunch of stuff, and I have to switch careers. It's like, it's really sad actually, and it makes me really sad every day when I read these threads, because I'm like, okay, if that guy is struggling, then like it's really bad for everybody. I think that the only people that are doing good right now are the ones that were able to establish the B2B relationships. So they're kind of just doing the B2B relationships, and then they've been able to establish that, so they're just going with that. So then even though I'm not directly affected by the union, the fact that the union is doing all that, they kind of make everybody else that would be busy with that stuff like scrambling for the peanuts that are available now. So that obviously causes a huge competition, and it's just really bad out there right now. For myself, it's been like pretty much the slowest year that it's been. I have moved around a lot, which means that my connections aren't cemented. So the people that are like actually doing good right now either have B2B relationships with, like, for example, local dentist or whatever, or they just have a huge network or something. But a lot of people are struggling right now. And I would love to hear your thoughts. Like, are you a film person, and why are you struggling, and are you struggling at all, or what's going on with you?
This is a real world example of what I mean by these rates are just absolutely bonkers banana town right now. This is a real message that was sent to me very recently, actually. I actually got one that was worse than this afterwards, but I'll tell you that this one. So this is from an actual real agency. They said, "We're looking for a videographer for a podcast." I'm like, okay, fine. We would only need you to shoot and upload the raw footage. All right, simple enough. We can offer you $400 for each day for a total of $800. You know, that's pretty low, but if you're not that busy and you're just picking your nose at home, might be worth it. Let's keep going. Please let us know if that works for you and we'll discuss the details. We would also require, we would also require 3 4K cameras, podcast setup with a live switcher and 2 podcast mics. It's like, oh, hold up there. I mean, that rate was already bad for just shooting, but you're also requiring all of this gear and a live switcher and podcast mics, and you're expecting one operator, one videographer to manage 3 cameras, to bring and manage. Like, this is just a race to the bottom at this point, man. This was another offensively low shoot that was offered to me. I don't have like a text message to show, but this was based off of a phone call with this production company. Not trying to name any names, but I'm also trying to put some awareness out there as to the nonsense that is going on right now. This was for a video for allegedly a very large YouTuber. I get it. Some people just kind of want like some kid with a DSLR or whatever, but you can't just ask for a bunch of stuff, expect gear and drone and all these different things. This particular project was offering $50 an hour for 4 hours, meaning it would be $200 for the day, plus 2 3.5 hour drives with gear and drone license, and I don't even know what to say. That's like barely a PA rate for all that work. At least if your operating rate is bad, like you can't like just expect people to bring all the gear and bring everything if your rate is going to be that bad. You know what I mean? I get it. I've done some operating gigs that are not the best paid, but usually it's without gear and you just kind of show up and don't have the stress of producing or doing anything else, or even bringing gear, and I get it. Like everybody's probably done that at some point. Honestly, the most offensive thing about both of these gigs, which were real gigs that were offered to me, was that they claimed that they had a bunch of videographers that were ready to hop on this. Like they were talking to multiple people basically, which is scary to me because I'm like, if people are considering these jobs, then it's really bad out there. If you're just starting out, you take what you can get and these rates are fine. But these are people that are clearly expecting a certain level of production when they're asking for specific gear and drone, and they're asking for somebody with a drone license, and they're asking for somebody with 4K cameras. They're asking for really specific things. They're not just, hey, we have a small budget, but we're kind of looking for somebody that's just getting started to come out for $200. Like, there's a big difference between that. So I don't want to sound like I'm like kind of greedy or something. I don't know. Like, I get it. Some people, like, you got to start somewhere. So these would be perfectly fine if you're just starting out. And that agency and that client should have that expectation. But to come up to somebody who's clearly a working professional and kind of ask them for all this equipment and stuff for these rates, it's almost like offensive. Like, I wouldn't personally have the ability to do that if I was an agency or a client or somebody looking for video. Media companies have slashed over 20,000 jobs in 2023. If you just the word media and layoffs, let's see what comes up. Well, that's a bunch of stuff. Great. Joy. Well, again, I'm not a part of the union or the regular industry. This all affects me because now this is a bunch of people that are picking their nose and have a lot of experience, and it just makes everything extremely competitive, and it makes the rates take a nosedive into the floor. We have a lot of layoffs. We have a lot of just companies kind of going out of business and cutting costs and whatever, and that all affects us because media is probably the first thing to go. More media layoffs, Google, Paramount, Disney, yada, yada, yada. You know the drill. Love that for them. List of Hollywood and media layoffs so far in 2024 from Paramount to Warner Brothers to Discovery to CNN. So again, just lots and lots of layoffs. You can read all of these articles, and these are for all kinds of different positions, right? So it's not just like only video people, but it's still not looking good, obviously, if all these companies are cutting back budgets, because they're just going to be producing less content and just trying to be more selective, and it just makes everything a lot more competitive, and it's just a little bit harder out there. So this is like a random AI. This is a really difficult number to actually find, and people have all sorts of opinions on what this number truly is, but this website is claiming that it is about 12%. Now, some people have claimed online on like threads I've read and stuff that it's like 60%. If you consider like the least amount of content being produced. But I don't have a real number on the unemployment. All I know is that it's looking kind of bad, and they're factually filming less movies, and they're filming a lot more overseas. Let's see if we find anything about that. So this is an example. I couldn't find like any stats, but I might just have sucked out looking out for actual raw stats. But this is an example. This is a really big blockbuster that just came out, Alien Romulus, and it was filmed overseas. And if you look at the end of the movie, like where you see the credits, a lot of people are not Americans. So, I mean, good for them over there, but it's like just, this is kind of what's happening now. Let's make our way to my favorite cesspit on the internet, which is Reddit. And, this is just a couple threads I've seen where people are just being really negative. Like, I honestly don't even recommend that you read Reddit that much, but it's kind of a way to just keep track of what's going on. You just got to keep in mind that the people that are posting on Reddit are going to be extra negative. So Just from what I've heard from my local reps, my local is about 10 to 15% working. You know, what I heard is 40% of total production. Not great. There's just a lot of negativity on Reddit. This is somebody just, this was 2 days ago. I'm out despite 20 years of experience, knowledge of the industry, good creative skills, great administrative skills, a solid understanding of the intersection between art, dedication, love of entertainment, and what I consider to be a great attitude. I am leaving the industry. So they go into their whole story. I'm obviously not going to read all this, but it definitely sucks that they are just burnt out. And there's a lot of people like this if you just go read the subreddit. And a lot of the people are people that have worked on big shows and have pretty fulfilling careers. And, they're just kind of done. It's bad.
Now hold on a sec before you guys go and do this, which I'm sure some of you will. But hey, Cam, I'm super busy. This is the busiest I've ever been. Well, first of all, I'm not even being sarcastic. I'm like, dude, that's great. This is what's happening right now, and I'm really curious what you guys are doing. And everybody who is slow, are you shifting careers? Are you trying different methods? What are you trying?